I just want to welcome our main speaker for today, Dr. Shanthipriya Shiva. Thank you so much, ma'am, for agreeing to be a part of this conversation.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and thank you for inviting me to share my journey today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I think we've got a good number of people who've joined us online from all over the country, I'm sure. And today's title of the Fireside Chat is Shaking Up the World. And we're really going to deep dive into understanding a little bit more about what Parkinson's disease is. And we'll be doing this through the lens of Dr. Shanthipriya, who will be taking us through her journey and some of the things that have enabled her to live well with Parkinson's. So before we begin the Q&A, I just want everyone to understand the format very briefly. So we have 1 hour. We have until 6 p.m. for this conversation. So the way we'll do this is there are a certain questions that have already been prepared that I'll be facilitating, which will be asked, and then ma'am will answer those. And then the last 15 minutes or so, we will have questions that can come from the audience. So until then, if you feel that there's something you want to ask, please feel free to park that on the chat. Um, and Kavya, who's helping with the spotlighting and everything, and who's helped put this session together, she'll help with the Q&A. So now that we've got the logistics explained, I just want to introduce our speaker for today. So Dr. Shanthipriya is a senior general ophthalmologist. She is the founder and CEO of SAR Foundation, an NGO dedicated to improving the quality of life for individuals with Parkinson's and neurological conditions. Dr. Shanthipriya is a Purple Ambassador with Parkinson's disease. So, for those of you who may not be familiar with the term Purple Ambassador, this is a concept that was introduced during the Purple Fest. Purple Fest is India's first of its kind inclusive festival that embraces and celebrates persons with disabilities. It was organized in Goa in January 2023 and 2024. Purple ambassadors were chosen by the government of Goa, and Dr. Shanti Priya was the Purple ambassador for this year, and she was chosen to represent the community of persons living with Parkinson's disease. So I couldn't think of anyone better with whom we could have this conversation today. So, ma'am, I'd like to begin by just asking you a little bit about your life story. If you could just share with us about the phase that you went through when you were diagnosed with early onset of Parkinson's disease, and if you could just share some of the symptoms with us for all of us to know what that means.
Yeah. So early 2011, I was diagnosed. First symptom was loss of swing movement of my right upper arm. And at first I ignored it, thinking that it must be some strain or some orthopedic problem. But after a few months, so I was not able to wear my slipper on my right side. So that's when I took it up seriously, and I sought. First, I sought only a consultation with an orthopedician, thinking it must be some orthopedic problem, some sprain or some ligament strain or something. But he referred me to a neurologist who first gave me the diagnosis of early onset Parkinson's. But I couldn't believe it, so I sought the consultation of another, and he went on to almost 5-6 neurologists until this diagnosis got into me. Because the first question was why me, and I was very young, and I don't have any family history of Parkinson's. So that's why I couldn't believe it at all. But after periods of denial and why me, I started reading a lot about Parkinson's in detail, and people reading about stories of people with Parkinson's like Muhammad Ali and Michael J. Fox. And that's when I thought, okay, I have to live with this disease, which is not, there's no cure. So little about first, what is Parkinson's? It's a chronic progressive neurodegenerative disorder. And till now, there's no cure. It is actually caused by the loss of dopamine secreting cells in the brain. which dopamine is a neurotransmitter which is necessary for movement. And we have varied symptoms, that is motor and non-motor. The commonest motor symptoms will be tremors, rigidity, akinesia or bradykinesia, which is slowness of movement, and postural instability, difficulties in walking, balance, gait, everything. And there are also a lot of non-motor symptoms like depression, anxiety, insomnia, urinary incontinence. Actually, the list goes on. Actually, there are almost more than 40 symptoms. So that is a little about Parkinson's. What is Parkinson's? And early onset Parkinson's is when actually 10 million people worldwide suffer from Parkinson's. And 10% are diagnosed below the age of 50, and they come onto the group of early onset Parkinson's. And if it can happen even below the age of 20, and they call juvenile Parkinson's. I know a friend who has been a co-ambassador in the World Parkinson's Coalition. He was diagnosed at the age of 6. So that condition is called juvenile Parkinson's. And one thing, it's like Parkinson's, like your unique fingerprint. One person's symptom may not be in the other. Because I don't have tremors at all. I'm a slowness, a bradykinesia dominant. Some people will have tremors, some people will have slowness or movements. Not that all the symptoms should be present. That's why we can't, it's a customized treatment for Parkinson's. So each one has a customized method, which will help them to live a better quality of life. So that's about Parkinson's. And when I started reading about all this Parkinson, and wherever I looked, there was not much support groups and resources available. So wherever I looked, there was a dearth of support, resources, not much awareness. All that when I was diagnosed in 2011. Yeah.
Right. I mean, firstly, thank you so much for explaining what Parkinson's is and the fact that it's not a one size fits all, that there is so much of a spectrum within Parkinson's. Because I feel personally that for a lot of us who may not know about Parkinson's, there might be an assumption or a misconception that we only look at the tremors and we look at old age. And somehow
Yes.
that gets equalized to what Parkinson's is. I think that's what a lot of us may have a very basic understanding, but to know
Yeah, it's
that,
always considered as an old man's disease.
yeah, and I think tremors is probably the first symptom that most of us will think of when we hear the word Parkinson's. So to know that there are actually 40 symptoms, and the fact that 10% of those who have been diagnosed with it are under the age of 50, I think that itself will probably bust myths of so many of us here who may not know that.
Yeah, it's the fastest growing neurological disorder, and they think that the numbers might double by 2040.
Okay.
And
Do
more
you know
number
why
of
that
people
might be?
that they don't know the cause. That's why they still don't have a cure.
Right.
And the more number of early onset Parkinson's disease. It is actually more common in men than women.
Okay. Right. And also, ma'am, since you're a medical doctor yourself, would it be fair to assume that you had easier access to resources to really understand what the condition meant?
When I was diagnosed, I was really, because even when I was studying medicine, it was always considered as an old man's disease. So even in all the textbooks of medicine, it's like above the age of 60. So that's why even that time the resources were very less. That's what I said. They were wherever I looked, I couldn't find any publication or journal at that time.
Right.
But access to doctors, I felt, because I had the knowledge that we have to see a movement disorder specialist. who specializes in Parkinson's. So it was actually easier for me to start on my medications on time, get the diagnosis early. Many people, they don't get diagnosis until late.
Right.
So being a medical doctor does have its advantages.
I suppose.
And it has its disadvantages also. Yeah, because you know how the disease is going to progress, everything. So you have that, but you can be mentally prepared for that. So it has its advantages and disadvantages.
Yeah, that sounds about right because I think when you're privy to certain information, I guess that's always a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
But which brings me to my next question, which is like you said, there were a couple of doctors you ended up consulting because just to understand what the symptoms really mean. And I think that's a pattern we've seen in many other what we call like the invisible disabilities, where an immediate apparent symptom may not be there, but just to be able to put a label to it so you know what it is. Uh, a certain amount of time does get spent from one doctor to another. So, while you may have experienced this in 2011, do you think it's easier to get diagnosis and support or resources today in 2024?
Yeah, definitely the awareness is better. Awareness is there. We have more support groups in India.
Right.
So, and the social media that plays a, you know, everything about social, because in social media, the awareness has grown. So I feel the number of, because all my, not my friends and family came to know what is Parkinson only after I was diagnosed. But at least the knowledge is better now. That's what I have, that's what I feel.
Right.
Yeah,
That,
thanks to social
yeah.
media, all that. And so it's like that. And previously, when I was diagnosed 2011, nobody knew that April was Parkinson's Awareness Month. But here now, for the past few years, it's become like a, for each disability or disorder, you have a awareness month and day, so that people can read about what it is, so that the knowledge is better now.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I think there are so many such occasions, say like Women's Day or International Persons with Disability Day, where
They,
there will always be a few people who say that's every day. Why call out one day for it? Which I also do agree and subscribe to that way of thinking. But the advantage of
yeah,
having such days is you can at least be a little bit more deliberate about having such
yeah.
conversations, which
It's
can never
not
be
for
enough.
us actually, not with us
Yeah.
with who has this, but for the general public to know. I feel all these days they
Yeah,
create more knowledge and awareness.
that's true. All right, really sorry about the interruption. So as I was saying, in one of the videos, you mentioned that Parkinson's can never define you. And I just want to spend a little bit of time on that because while Parkinson's is one part of who you are, there are so many other things that you would have done in your journey to be able to live well with Parkinson's, of which one thing is physical activity. Because I read that physical activity actually helps delay the progression of the disease, although there's no cure for it. So I was wondering if you'd be able to share your journey of becoming like physically fit and the role that fitness has played, in your life to live well with Parkinson's.
Yeah, as you said, there are studies which show that 150 minutes of exercise a week has delayed the progression of Parkinson's. Not only delay, it improves your walking, it improves your balance, and there is decreased number of falls and freezing, which one of the disabling symptoms in Parkinson's. They're all reduced. So actually, when I read about it, I started. I tried all types of exercise, from Zumba, spinning, weight training, high intensity interval training, Pilates, whatever I got hold of it, I did. But I feel whatever exercise you do, you need to be consistent.
Mhm.
That is the key to living with Parkinson's. So you need to be consistent and do what you can. That's what I feel. Not that one person does high intensity intense exercise, not that you have to do it.
Mhm.
But actually, studies have shown that any type of aerobic exercise has delayed all the progression and has more benefits than the other types of exercise.
Right.
But
So
now I'm
Zumba is
into,
something
yeah,
you,
Zumba is
okay.
something which helps me because it's a dance come exercise.
Mm.
So because I enjoy it, you don't have any social isolation because it's like a group class. It's not that something which you're going to do on your own. So it has more benefits like that. And it helps me in balance and coordination.
Right.
I prefer group activities than doing anything on my own.
Yeah, I think a lot of us will resonate with that, especially when it comes to physical fitness, because it's very easy to lose motivation when you feel like you're alone.
Yeah, that is there, but you have to have a good company and support system because the people who they know about me and they don't judge me because even if I don't do a proper step or not. So you should have a good company and friend support system is a must
Right.
because
That's
otherwise a person might feel alienated everything in a group class. So that is
yeah.
important. But I enjoy my dancing and Zumba.
That's nice. That's nice. So for anybody who, I mean, I understand that it again can't be one size fits all, but for someone who has say similar symptoms like what you do, is there any say adaptations that have to be made when the Zumba instructor is with you, or is it something you do based on what suits,
No,
what your
I do what I can
there?
because the Zumba class is not for people with Parkinson's. It's people who have no disabilities. It's like a group class. So I do what I can. If some movements I'm not comfortable with, I will not do it.
Right.
And a few things actually my instructor has little modified it for my
All right. All right, that's really nice to know. I mean, talking about physical activity, while that's one way of keeping oneself fit and engaged, I also read that you're a self-taught abstract artist, and that you also started painting after your diagnosis. So it would be wonderful if you could share your journey of learning art and how you feel it has contributed to your personal growth.
yeah. I was actually good at art at school. So I did
Oh,
a
good.
lot of exhibition, but I didn't have any formal training as such.
Yeah.
But after after joining medical school, all that came to a halt. So, but in 2017-18, I think, I actually attended the exhibition of my friend's daughter. That's when that rekindled my passion. And at first, actually, I was not an abstract artist at all. I was doing portraits of women with varied emotions. But that's how I started my painting. I usually do acrylics. But after COVID, when we had a lot of time in hand, I started browsing a lot of YouTube tutorials on, and with little, I actually had some difficulties because my hands are not steady, I have stiffness and sometimes dystonia. Therefore, these kind of art was not suitable for me. That's when
Hmm.
I explored varied types of art and I came across abstract form, which I actually feel it's a way of more. I'm able to express more in this form of art because from the colors I choose, from the flow of the paint, everything is my emotions. That's how I'm into abstract art. Even in
Okay.
abstract, I've used a lot of media. I've explored acrylic, I've done alcoholic ink, but it's a little they say they have a lot of fumes, so it's a little danger. You have to use a mask, all that is there. Then I've done a lot of mixed media, resin. So I've tried everything, but now I stick on to acrylic abstract form of art.
Wonderful. So with all the mediums that you just spoke of, and the fact that abstract art is what has given you that space to express yourself. Are there any certain themes that you go back to, or anything that you like to work on when it comes to abstract painting?
Mainly that's what I paint, only my emotions.
Ah, okay.
So that is if I'm happy, I choose a different type of, the art will come out in a different way.
Right.
So it depends upon your emotion. Even the colors I choose are accordingly.
Right.
Mainly, it's actually a let go feeling for me. When I'm into art, it's like a meditation, and I can paint for hours together. Yeah.
I think that's a very beautiful thing that you've said, because given the lifestyle that so many of us lead, we all need that creative outlet, and the fact that you found yours in abstract art is really wonderful to know.
Yeah. And actually, they say because of the dopamine surge, actually, people with Parkinson's are more creative.
Oh,
That's actually a dopamine rush, they say.
I see. That's an
So,
interesting thought.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I was more creative before I had a surgical procedure, because for Parkinson's, after actually the medicine is only the mainstay treatment. But after a few years with Parkinson's, actually you get develop side effects and your medicines don't work, and you get a lot of motor fluctuation. That's the time when you have a procedure called deep brain stimulation. So what I feel was I was more creative before the deep brain stimulation than after the deep brain stimulation. So that's what I feel. I don't know. I'm not sure of it.
I mean, I think the fact that you've been able to find that as a channel for expressing what you're feeling or emoting, I think that in itself is a
Yeah.
wonderful thing. And I think everybody here will be surprised to know that art is just one of the ways in which you express yourself. You also write, and you
Yes.
also enjoy poetry. In fact, you've also written your own book called Metamorphosis. So we'd love to know, your experience of also using the written word as a medium to share your experiences.
Yeah. Metamorphosis actually, the title Metamorphosis is because my life is based upon the metaphor. That is when the caterpillar thought it was the end of the world, she turned into a butterfly. So that is the title. And it's all reflections of my journey. It is actually a collection of 36 poems with corresponding art. And it's been a vehicle of expressing my emotions, feelings. So all my life, whatever I had gone through, how was Parkinson's. Actually, I describe in the book that Parkinson's it's like dancing with a stranger throughout your life. The stranger's Parkinson's, you have to. That's how I describe, and that he is a friend. Mr. Parkinson is my friend, but he's a stranger who's going to be throughout with me throughout my life. So the book, this is the actually I got it. This is the cover of the book. This is also a painting done by me.
Oh, so
It's a
it's a black book,
metamorphosis painting.
right?
Yeah.
So it's basically sketches of four women, or faces of four women on the front cover.
Yeah, for women, it's a metamorphosis from that sad, she becomes a butterfly, like, and here is a butterfly.
Ah, okay. So we basically see expressions, different expressions of the women on
Different
the cover.
expressions, yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's a really powerful analogy.
And
Even what you, yeah.
actually, first I didn't mention that actually I was selected for the Art for Inclusion, which is a initiative of the India Inclusion Summit. My painting was selected. So that actually gave me the confidence to do more paintings. So that was one aspect which I missed out.
Wow. Okay. But I mean, that's wonderful to know. heartiest congratulations on that, because
Yeah,
for those of
because
you
that
who
was
are
the
not, yeah,
first year, 2019 it was. I was the first batch of artists who were selected.
right, okay.
We were 8 artists, and now we form a group. We do a lot of group exhibitions together.
Yeah.
So actually, that was one of the things which gave me the confidence. And I started writing mainly during COVID, because we had a lot of time. All my art and painting, art and writing is all during the COVID time. So that also gave me a lot of time in hand. And I just had before COVID only, I had my deep brain stimulation. So I don't practice medicine anymore. Now I'm a full-time advocate for Parkinson's. I do art, I write.
That's really interesting to know. And I mean, for those who are not aware on the call, Art for Inclusion is an annual endeavor that happens
Yes.
in Bangalore. It's a part of the India
Yeah.
Inclusion Summit, started by Mr. Feroz, and he
Rose.
basically encourages artists with disability to showcase their work, and it's a matter of
Yes.
prestige that you've also been able to showcase your work there. Yeah. That's wonderful. And even I think the analogy that you shared of Parkinson's being like dancing with a stranger, um, I actually found that really thought provoking, because sometimes things that happen to our body can be so disorienting that we need to be able to give it a vocabulary to just make sense of it, I suppose.
Yes.
And I think that's really powerful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So to before I actually move on to my next question, I wanted to actually read out a quote by someone who you mentioned in the beginning, who's Michael J. Fox. So Michael J. Fox is a Hollywood actor, also a person with Parkinson's, and he said something that I really liked. He said that acceptance does not mean resignation. It means understanding that something is what it is, and there's got to be a way through it. It's a really powerful quote, because I think it also gives a sense of his character and his mind frame to deal with the diagnosis. And one more reason why I chose to share this quote right now is because, from what I understand, because Parkinson's is such a dynamic condition, there might be changes that one sees on a daily basis on what one's body can and can't do. So, ma'am, I was wondering if you'd be able to just take us through living with Parkinson's and how that really requires ongoing adaptations and resilience.
Yeah. As you said, definitely needs an ongoing adaptation and resilience. First, we need adaptation to the symptoms, because as you said, it's not only day to day, even within the day, it can vary. So we have to develop a lot of techniques and activities to manage the symptoms, like how you manage the medication schedule, physical exercise, and in some cases, you might need assistive devices also. So that is the symptom part. Then how do we cope with the illness? So we have to be resilient in this. That is, first we have to have a positive mindset. We have to accept the disease, that we have to live with it, and there's no cure. That is very important. And then we have to find ways for emotional well-being, which is also very important. And we have to embrace certain lifestyle modifications, like certain diet has to be followed, proper exercise, we have proper sleep, we have to give self-care a priority, and we have to manage stress. And we have to we have to seek support, that which is very important. You can join a support group in your community, seek support from your loved ones, communicate with your healthcare professional, because all this is very necessary in living well with Parkinson's. And we have to always stay informed about the advancements in the treatment, how the disease will progress, how you should educate yourself about the disease. So what can you do to live with all this? You can. And that's why and I feel one more thing is ongoing adaptation and resilience. We have to become a patient advocate for others. Because at the time you not only make an impact on the others, at the same time you empower yourself, and it actually gives you a sense of purpose. So I feel these ways we have to, because it's a progressive chronic disorder, we have to manage all this living well with all this which I mentioned.
Are there any examples you could share of assistive solutions that are used by persons with Parkinson's?
Assistive devices means for tremors, actually, they have some glove kind which will reduce the tremors. Then for you have freezing and all, you have laser pointing cues which help in freezing of gait, which is common in people with Parkinson's. And then whenever that wheelchair, all that we have. And actually abroad, they have certain utensils which will help. And if you have too much of tremors, you have some utensils which will not spill the contents of the bowl or cup. But I don't think it's available in India. In abroad, they have all these devices. Mainly what we use here is the laser cues to prevent freezing of gait, which is one of the disabling symptoms, because you will be walking and suddenly your legs will feel like you're glued to the ground. That's when you tend to fall forward. That people use.
Right. And I think, as you mentioned earlier, because there are 40 symptoms and there's so much diversity, I think the assistive devices would also vary amongst people with Parkinson's.
Depends.
What works for one.
What doesn't work for one, each one has their way. Actually, people with Parkinson's, they themselves find a way how to tide over any symptom. So it's like that. You find some methods of coming over whatever symptom which troubles you.
You also mentioned when you were just sharing about assistive solutions and everything else, the importance of just being an advocate for others living with the same condition. And just to build on that idea, because you have set up the SAR Foundation and you also use social media extensively to spread awareness about the condition. So we'd love to know a little bit about what SAR does, for the community.
SAR is actually based upon the acronym Support, Awareness, Action and Rehabilitation. It's actually taken from the Tamil word Saral, which means shelter, and we made it SAR. So that is the thing. And actually it was mainly to how to make a difference in lives of people, and it's a holistic approach to living well with Parkinson's. Mainly it is an awareness group where we share with each other whatever information about Parkinson's we come across. I used to conduct a lot of workshops before COVID for Parkinson's with that is like physical activity, sound healing, Tai Chi, all that, yoga, all that. But now it's been a little break, because actually after DBS, I underwent a lot of, I went into a lot of psychological problems and emotional. So now only again I've come out of it, and I will soon start again all these activities. Mainly it creates awareness, and that is we advocate for better treatments, and I support some medical, I give medical support for the people who are not able to afford. And mainly I network so that people can get better treatments And actually, through social media, I have a network all over the world. And I was the ambassador for the World Parkinson's Coalition last year, which was held at Barcelona. Because through social media only, I got this network. And I was able to share my journey at that platform. And I was able to uh, give them what happens in India, what people with Parkinson, what they go through. There is lack of support, lack of access to medical care in the rural area, lack of access to movement disorder specialists. Still, there's no awareness in the rural areas. All that I was able to share, which I hope will give better treatments and diagnosis for people with Parkinson's living in rural areas.
Right, right. I mean, it's interesting to know about, the advocacy-related workshops you've done, and we look forward to knowing, more of these that will happen.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned the World Parkinson's Coalition. So is that something that happens across the globe for people to come together and talk
Yeah,
about
it
the condition?
happens. Yeah, it's actually a only conference which have all the stakeholders in the field of Parkinson's. It is for people with Parkinson's, caregivers, neurologists, neurosurgeons, scientists, researchers, pharmaceutical companies, all that we come under the one roof. It's usually held every 3 years.
Okay.
And I actually attended the 2019 Kyoto, which was held in Kyoto. That's when that is through social media, I got to know about this. And then I went. It was very informative. I gained a lot of knowledge. And after that, only I did my deep brain stimulation, all that. And now I was the ambassador for the last year, 2023. Yeah. Because you have people from all over the world. You have in each, how it is in Africa, how it is in America, how it is in Europe. So we get knowledge about what people do for living well all over the world. But I feel the awareness is more abroad than in India. That's what I feel.
Right.
Because
yeah.
and even the accessibility part also, I feel.
Mm.
The people are it's more accessible from once you get down from the flight, everything is very accessible. But I feel not in India. It has to be done in that field also.
That's true. Yeah, while we have come a certain way, we definitely do have a long way to
but
go.
it's not up to
Yeah.
that same.
Right. That's true. But I love the fact that you said that there are multiple stakeholders that are involved, in the process. And do you happen to know if there will be something like this in India as well, or where the next one is happening?
Next one is in US.
Okay.
But we don't know where in US. I don't know. But each time it was in Europe. Mostly it was in US. Last time it was Barcelona, Europe, and US. It was in North America, Canada. But so I don't know.
Yeah,
no
hopefully
idea also.
we'll be able to host it in this country soon.
Yeah,
Just because
if
that's
we
also
host
one
it,
way.
maybe
Yeah.
more. We can create more awareness.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Just to build on to what you were sharing, I mean, I would actually now like to take a question from somebody who's put it in chat by Nipun Malhotra, who's asked if there are any Parkinson's support groups to support families where a person has recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Support families. I didn't get this question.
Maybe if Sir is online, he could maybe elaborate the question.
Because the support groups are all for caregivers and for the people with Parkinson's. You have support groups. Now I feel there's support groups all over India. In Mumbai and all, the PDMDS society, they do a good job.
Is
So
that
I think so.
PDMDS? Is that the name?
Yes.
PDMDS.
Yeah.
Okay.
If
Okay.
I don't know from where is he. In Bangalore also, we have a lot of support groups.
All right. So in the sense, is it one organization that has chapters across cities, or are these location
PDMDS,
specific?
they have a lot of, in the north, they have a lot of centers.
Okay.
That is north. Bangalore, they have other support groups. Tamil Nadu, other support. Each state has its own support groups, local support groups.
All right. All right. Okay. And another question that has come in on the chat is any tips for helping children manage this? That this I'm assuming that means Parkinson's.
The child has or the parents have Parkinson's.
That's a good question. Maybe Mr. Suresh could elaborate on the question if he's on
If
here.
the mostly it will be if the parents or one of the parents have, you have to educate the child about what it is, how the symptoms fluctuate, I feel. And they have to be informed it's a progressive disorder, that these what and all you have, what limitations you have. I feel everything has to be explained to the child. My son actually was around 13, 14 years when I was diagnosed. So I explained to him everything what will happen. So I feel they should know about your condition. No point hiding your condition.
Of course, because I think they would also be such a core, they would
Yes,
play a
and
very
they
core
can be a
role in
good
your support.
caregiver also.
Right. But keeping the caregiver in mind, is there anything you feel it's important? Because we might, I'm not sure, but we might be having somebody on this call who may be a caregiver for someone who has Parkinson's. So is there anything you would want them to be aware of, any message you'd like to share for them?
That is, you should take care of yourself also. That's what I feel. Your mental and physical status should be taken care of. That which is very important, which most of the caregivers don't do. They mostly bent on, they take care of the patient, but they don't take care of themselves. And there's a burnt out, they get burnt out actually. So first is education about the information about the disease, and self-care is very important.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Thank you for
That is,
that. Yeah. I mean, we've been able to address the two questions on chat. If there's anybody else, who's joined in who has a question, please do raise your hand and, so we'll be able to spotlight you and we'll be able to ask it here. Until we, hear from someone, maybe I could ask the
okay.
next question for now, which is that a large part of our audience today, are from the corporate sector. We have a lot of volunteers here who are associated with Enable India as a volunteer in different events, and not all of them may have had first-hand exposure of, either meeting or working with the persons with Parkinson's. So are there any top three takeaways that you'd like to share with them to be able to empathize and just work better with a person living with Parkinson's?
Yeah. First is education. You should educate yourself. Then is communication is important. We have to be open, listen to the patient, and if they want, you can assist them. And then it's you have to be flexible because of this, as the symptoms fluctuate, we have to adapt the activities and plans accordingly. And sometimes we have to make some accommodations for the limitations also. So these are important things: communication, understanding, being flexible, and education, being patient with a person with Parkinson's. All these will help to build up a very good relationship.
Right. Thank you for sharing those 3 pointers: education, and
Communication.
Flexibility and communication. I just had one follow-up question to the point on education, which is that are there any books or movies in the mainstream that you feel have done an accurate representation of what Parkinson's is, that any of us could go back to really understand the condition better, or any other material available
Actually,
online?
there's a lot of books, lot of articles online now available. You can just Google it and you'll get a lot of movies also. That is, if you go to the WPC website itself, there are a lot of movies on Parkinson's. So I think so you can get a lot of information from that website.
All right. So WPC, just to confirm, would be World Parkinson Coalition, the organization you work for?
Yeah, it's wpc.org.
WPC.org. All right. That's really
So you get a lot
helpful.
of information on that. That is what makes it. Otherwise, I think everywhere you get a lot of information.
Right. Maybe that's also confusing because there's so much of it. It can be quite disorienting. But yeah, sources like WPC.org.
There's so many books written by people with Parkinson's also, how to live well. So all that are there. So many books are there.
Right.
So you can't, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it must be hard to choose, but it's also hard
and there are so many. Mainly is attending conferences like WPC. Now one conference Insight is going on. It is Australian based, which is online. So I feel you gain a lot of information about the disease and what are the future and the treatments, everything from attending these conferences will give you a lot of knowledge.
Absolutely.
Because for me, more than reading, I feel listening, I can do better. Because even though I can paint, I can't write. Because that is one of the symptoms of Parkinson. You have micrographia. Because of the stiffness and rigidity, I can't write. I can't write a single sentence. But I can paint. And if there is time, I can talk a little about what early onset Parkinson's also has a lot of distinctive characteristics, clinical characteristics. That is, usually they're more prone to dystonia, which is painful spasms of the body. But the disease progression is slow and lower incidence of cognitive decline, and more social isolation, and depression is more because usually at the time of diagnosis they might be employed or have some younger children at home, and so they experience more social isolation compared to the late onset. So depression is more common in early onset.
Right.
That's what one point I wanted to share.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting that, because I think mental health of someone with Parkinson's is something that could get overlooked so easily. So thank you so much.
Because the treatment, the medications can cause DBS, the surgery can cause, and Parkinson's per se can cause a lot of mental health issues.
Right.
So we have to be aware of that. The caregiver, everybody surrounding the person with Parkinson's should be aware of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. We actually have one person who's raised their hand. I don't know the name, unfortunately, because it says one
I'm
plus.
sorry. I'm Shanthipriya. I work at Xerox. Thank you for the session. I think it was a very illuminating, so to say, and then sensitive one too. My question to Dr. Shanthipriya is that what about this application of alternate medicine, alternate treatment, or medical process like Ayurveda or anything else that in the aid of Parkinson's?
That is, massages will help to ease the stiffness. Yoga helps, Tai Chi helps, but not the medication part, because Ayurveda is not a measured medicine. They have some Sindopa, which is Ayurvedically prepared from a plant called Muscuna pruriens. But I have heard that there's a lot of incidents of side effects more. So I don't recommend Ayurveda, but massages will definitely ease your symptoms. But it's not a cure, and I feel you should stick on to your allopathy medicine.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for that question. I think with this, we've actually reached the end of the 1 hour slot. So I just want to really give you a very big thank you, Dr. Shanthipriya. I want to convey my gratitude to you for being so open and forthcoming with sharing your journey and just all the steps you've taken to be able to live well with Parkinson's. And it's be it art, writing, poetry, the advocacy work that you do, the awareness that you're spreading with SAR Foundation. It's been really wonderful to know everything that's been happening, under your leadership to spread awareness about the condition. So thank you so much for doing what you do.